Hello, everyone, to all my Experience Projects friends and to all my Facebook and YouTube friends. This is Andrew. Some of you know me as Sniggle Fluffy on Experience Project. If you're not on Experience Project, I invite you to join it. Link will be down below, and you are certainly welcome to follow me. I would really like it. My Experience Project name is Sniggle Fluffy. Spelling and everything is down there for you below. This video came from Russia Today, the news network, about the rise in food banks in England, and it follows a single mother who's been struggling named GEMMA HINDMARSH and her plight and situation when it comes to public assistance. This report was filed by Polly Boyko, RT reporter in London. So I have the video for you, and then right following the report, I have my wife, Kathy. A lot of you know her as Truckinwife on Twitter or Experience Project, to share some of her thoughts about the video and about the failure of socialism.
For this struggling mother, it's a hand-to-mouth existence, with the pressure of 2 hungry mouths to feed. Gemma receives her small shop assistant wage and her state benefits every Tuesday.
Sometimes I'll wake up on a Sunday and I will literally have £5 in my purse. And I think, right, what can I do with £5?
Not much when you're living on the breadline. 1 in 5 mothers in Britain, just like Gemma, regularly skip meals just to feed their children.
You want to make nutritional meals for your kids. You hear it all the time on the TV, how they should be eating the 5 a day and fresh meats. But, you know, sometimes you just literally can't do it, and you have to buy them the, 77p basic cottage pie, because that's literally all you can afford.
For the single mother, managing a tiny budget is turning into a puzzle that's harder and harder to solve.
We are seeing a lot more families telling us that they have to make this difficult choice between things like eating and heating, putting food on the table, or paying the bills. A part of this is driven by problems in benefit administration, sanctions being applied often inappropriately that leave people having to go to food banks.
Food banks such as this one, run by the TRUSSELL Trust. The charity first started working with abandoned children in Bulgaria, but they switched over to the UK when they discovered what they call hidden hunger in Britain. 3 food banks open every week in the UK now, and in unexpected areas like Kensington and Chelsea, warehouses like these distribute store cupboard staples and tinned food to families that are in need of emergency provisions. In fact, over 200,000 people had to turn to food banks last year in order to get fed. That's double the amount on the year before. So if the sad dynamic persists, food banks like these are going to have to get a whole lot bigger in order to feed Britain's struggling families. Charities say that some parents are so desperate to feed their children that they consider stealing. It's become such a reality that police have been known to take hungry shoplifters to food banks instead of arresting them.
A lot of the people that come to food banks have stories which are really heartbreaking, and we've had people coming to food banks who've been forced to choose between eating and feeding their children, and that's something we see very regularly.
Just like Gemma's, over half of Britain's impoverished children have parents that are in work, and the issue of putting food on the table eats up their lives.
I come to a Monday, literally sitting there on a Monday evening, waiting to check the balance, make sure nothing's still there. It kind of controls you a little bit. It kind of takes over your life, because when you're going week to week to week on a small amount, you're thinking, right, I'm going to get this money on Tuesday, and I'll do a list. Right, this has got to be paid out. This has got to be paid out. Right, that leaves me that much for shopping. It takes over your thinking for most of the week.
And with the cost of basic necessities, including food, rising all the time, Gemma lives on a diet of daily struggle and worry about the future. Polly Boyko, RT, London.
Here with my wife, Kathy. Some of you know her as Truckinwife on either Twitter or the Experience Project, with some of her thoughts about the report that we have seen from England that was filed by Russia Today, the news. Okay, well, you saw the video, the one from Russia Today, and I know we've both been there when it comes to poverty and into going to food banks. So what'd you think of that video?
What we deal with here in America, depending upon the location, I would say it's worse. Um, Here in Albany, smaller town, I don't know if it's because people help each other or it's not as bad. The food bank has more here. When we were in Washington, um, South King County area, it was worse. There were times where there was little to nothing on the shelves when you went to the food banks, and that was, let me see, 9, 10 years ago. Um, I remember standing in lines and you look for the bread, and sometimes the donated bread, you'd find moldy bread, and you don't.
Did you say moldy bread?
Yes, yes. There was times that I would find moldy bread. They'd give you vegetables, and the vegetables would be questionable at best, so you'd have to be very picky about vegetables. There'd be things in King County at the time. Like I said, this was 10 years ago. I don't know the conditions now. Praise God, our finances have changed, but at that time, I remember running into things past due date, and I'm sure that's the case even now. You'd run into things that are past due date or up to due date, so you'd have to check to make sure it's good. Smell the food, look at the food. Are you going to be able to eat it?
Oh, really? And since England is a socialist country, would you say that the government system in England that's supposed to feed people is working or is failing?
I'd say it's failing, and with the increase in food stamps here in the United States, it really highly concerns me. I remember before I even met you and was dating you, I was on food stamps after the divorce with my first husband. And you could not feed a family healthy food at that time. Food prices have increased now, and it's really kind of frightening. Um, so I was ending up feeding really high carb, high processed foods to myself and the boys. Hot dogs, top ramen, macaroni and cheese, a lot of those processed box dinners that now I think about and I want to gag. Um, there would be times that I would just like the boys would get fried hot dog sandwiches for lunch.
So Gemma, the single mother in the movie, refers to a cottage pie, basic cottage pie, which is like a English term for a pie with mashed potatoes and root vegetables and cheap cuts of meat. Would you consider that to be similar to what the food you were describing?
Yeah, I would. Um, it's more expensive now. It's almost like $2, $3 a package, but hamburger helper. Yeah, lots of hamburger helper. It's like 21 ways to make hamburger helper.
Wow. And would you like to see Barack Obama and Michelle Obama try that?
I did last year. I never did get a response, and I'd love to see a response. And I still put this challenge out. I want to see one of these high-ranking officials. I don't care if it's a senator, House member, and I even challenge Barack Obama and Joe Biden and his family to do this. I want them to live off of what they give the people that receive food stamps. I want them to live off of that for a month. And I want them to see what kind of healthy things they can come up with in a month with this. Because Michelle Obama is really good at saying the obesity, and I'm no skinny mini here, but You want to pack on pounds, eat the high processed stuff, and that's a surefire way to start doing it. And there's no food value to it. And so then you start eating crap. And then you have no food, so you have no, it's like feast or famine. And so then you start, when you do get food in there, I mean, you just like literally start shoveling it in, and it's a bad habit. It's difficult. Fresh fruits, vegetables, they're very expensive. So you do what you can. So you go and you look for the cheapest cut of meat. You look for the hot dogs, the processed foods. You look for the rice-a-roni, the top ramen, and we start throwing things together with top ramen instead of actually looking at the thing and saying, okay, is this going to be good? Is this going to be healthy? And
Video that a lot of people that we've personally experienced going into food banks were ones that were working, but they still were not able to make ends meet.
oh yeah, I remember doing that more than once, and most of the time that I had food stamps, I worked. If all the Christians that are supposed to be Christians now here in the United States were to tithe the 10%, there would be no need for the social services that the government now offers.
So what is it that works? God or government? You decide. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.